If you're going to try, go all the way. Otherwise, don't even start. This could mean losing girlfriends, wives, relatives, and maybe even your mind. It could mean not eating for 3 or 4 days. It could mean freezing on a park bench. It could mean jail. It could mean desertion. It could mean mockery, isolation. Isolation is the gift. All others are a test of your endurance, of how much you really want to do it. And you'll do it, despite rejection and the worst odds. And it will be better than anything you can imagine. If you're going to try, go all the way. There is no other feeling like it. You'll be alone with the gods, and the nights will flame with fire. You will ride straight to perfect laughter. It is the only good fight there is. Friends, this is episode 52 of the Formless Podcast with me, Dustin, and Tyler, the superhuman.
Good morning.
Morning.
All right.
Oh man, so many things have been going on lately. Christmas, all of that. Had a wild Christmas. Actually, I did. Forgot to mention it. We were talking earlier about our Christmas stuff. So like plans changed multiple times for Christmas dinner.
Oh boy.
Yeah, so we were all supposed to go to my sister's house. Then her kids got sick. And then we were going to go to my parents' house, and then they got sick. And
wow.
Yeah, and then so like we're just not going to do Christmas dinner with anybody. We're just going to stay home. So we went Christmas shopping like on Christmas Eve for dinner, bought all the stuff, and then miraculously we're going to go back to my parents' house and do it. And then I called.
Sick?
Yeah, well, they were sick, but they were going to tough it out. So then I called. I called everybody Christmas morning, how we all, the families, we're calling everybody up and checking in on everybody. My little sister, her middle daughter, she's got 3 kids, got real sick. Had to go to the hospital. Had pneumonia and strep throat and flu B, whatever that is. It was really bad. So, she's out of the hospital now and on the mend. Good. But it was spooky. So I call my mom up Christmas morning, wish her, Merry Christmas. And she sounds like she's dying. Her voice is like completely gone. And she's miserable, but she's going to tough it out for the whole family. Right. And I'm like, Mom, I can't do that to you. Like we can't do this. Called my dad up. He was taking care of his mom, who's in a home, and I was just like, Dad, I can't do that. Mom, you're sick. She's way sick. Like, let's just do it on another day. Like, we'll get together for New Year's or get together the week after or something and have Christmas dinner. He's like, okay, call your brother. And I called my brother, who bought a huge prime rib for everybody, and I'm like, hey, we can't do it. Everybody's sick. We're just going to have to call it good. So everybody's agreed. Everybody's happy, like, okay, less stress on everyone. And then it was like, okay, what are we going to have for dinner? Because I bought a prime rib for Christmas dinner for our family, but then my wife had me throw it in the freezer when we weren't going to do dinner at our house. So that thing's frozen. It's a rock right now. And, so she's like, well, we could throw it in the pressure cooker or the crock pot. And I'm like, we're not throwing a prime rib in the crock pot. She goes, well, I got a pork shoulder. We can do or a pork roast. We'll throw that in the crock pot, and I'll throw a bunch of other stuff. And we had a bunch of other veggies and stuff like that. So
you made it work.
We made it work. But
that sounds like a pretty.
It was eventful.
Eventful Christmas. That's a good word for it.
Things just kept changing. You had to be flexible.
Yeah, no, that sounds like it almost sounds like a Christmas holiday comedy.
It was just had it not been like everyone being sick and stuff, it would have been funny. But it was like, with my niece being in the hospital and stuff, it was pretty sketchy. It was like everybody's kind of worried about that.
Well, so, it seems like Christmas presents are in front of you right now.
Yeah. So I got a box here, and if you've been following the Instagram page, we got, I've been posting pictures of this box and what's in the box. And I did a little live story, but it is since expired, or a short. I don't remember what they call it on Instagram, but I did a short with a quick flash of what's in the box. So I'm going to show, if you're watching on YouTube, you'll get to see what's in the box. You listeners at home will just have to check the website. So we got stickers finally, and I'm going to show the camera. Woo!
Yeah.
Yeah. So those are going to be up on our website shortly, and we'll be able to send you those for a small fee.
Sounds good.
And there'll be more stuff coming on that. But yeah, super exciting to come home from running errands and see that on the counter.
Yeah, heck yeah.
Yeah.
And I love the font on it. Like I was telling you earlier, the stickers, the tagline, be formless, like you just showed the camera, be formless, the Formless Podcast, and the red lettering on the Formless Podcast. Oh, that's so cool. I love it.
It looks good. They're 4 by 6 inches.
Okay.
So try to make it like legible so you can see it from far away, but not so big that it was like
billboard.
Yeah, distracting. But it looks good. I'm really happy with the way it turned out. So we'll get those up on the website here soon, and be able to work something out there. But it's fitting for it to be right at the end of the year that's coming in, because we got a new year coming tomorrow. Today's New Year's Eve.
New Year's Eve today. Yep.
And that's, it's cliche, but that's the time when like gym memberships go up and everybody's got their New Year's resolution. It's all fresh in their mind and stuff. Do you do that? Do you do New Year's resolutions? I
have off and on throughout the years. Mm-hmm. And so this year I've got a lot that I'm like, I'm going to do this differently. And I've got this differently. And I'm going to ease my way into them, and I'm going to do a lot more of accountability on those, like have my New Year's resolutions. And I've had accountability before. I'm a pretty accountable person, but these New Year's resolutions, like I really want to take it to the next level.
Yeah.
Like I really...
You got some like defined goals.
Yes. Yeah. Physical goals, as far as like, losing a little bit of weight, even though I'm already pretty slender. Stuff like that. Working more on specifics on what I'm going to do as far as like certain kicks, certain moves, things I want to accomplish physically, in the dojo that are physical things. Yeah. So I've got those. Hopefully some of those things that I work on, those specifics, kicks, or like I'm working on my handstand. Right? Yeah. The handstand. So when I do those, I want to take those after working on them a lot and incorporate them into my movies. On. So that's why I've got New Year's resolutions. On those things like, I'm gonna, resolve to do this kick better. This kick, be able to do my handstands. I want to be able to do the splits. Yeah. Like full on, like I can lean forward and do the, the front splits or side splits. What's that called? Like if your legs. Like the dead bug?
Yeah, kind of like the dead bug. That's what I'm talking about. So go down, do the splits, and go all the way down onto your belly. Yeah. That's what I call it. I don't know if there's a proper name for it. I'm sure there's some yoga pose that has a name. No, that's cool.
So I've got some New Year's stuff I want to work on. What about you?
Well, I've always been kind of ever since I was a little kid, New Year's always meant something to me. For whatever reason, like a new chance or a new like start over point. And I don't remember exactly who like showed me that or explained that to me. It might have been my mother. But when I was growing up, we used to go almost every year. We would go to a neighbor's house. They threw a big party for New Year's and invite like the whole neighborhood over. And it was like a event, it was a big thing. It was almost as exciting as Christmas, even though there wasn't like presents and stuff like that as a kid. But it was like the whole neighborhood got together. Everybody had a good time. There was drinking and, all of that stuff with the adults. But all the kids like went into the family room and there was TVs and movies playing and stuff. And it just was like it was cool. And I got the idea then sometime around that point where like, okay, I should have something to work on. And it, just like 99% of everyone else in the world, I'd work on it for a day or two and then, get distracted by something else. But I've always tried to keep a short list of goals written down. And some of them change over the course of the year. Like, oh, that's not as important to me as what I thought it was. Or I accomplish it and it's, whatever. And then some I've always I just kind of kept kicking that can down the road. Yeah. Like, oh, I didn't do it this year, so I'll just move it on to next year's,
It's like July.
Yeah.
We'll do that next year.
We'll do that next year. Not quite ready for that one yet. But more recently, within the last 3 or 4 years, what I've done, and I heard this from Tim Ferriss on his podcast. I think it was one of his podcasts. He talks about when you have goals, you should have an overarching set of goals, like big ones, and then you should have smaller goals designed to progress you closer to that big goal.
Yeah. Right.
So if your big goal is to buy a house, you can't just start tomorrow. You've got to find funding. You've got to find how's your credit? There's all these other steps. And his idea, and I believe it was his idea, was if you take the big goal at face value and you just look at the big goal, that could get overwhelming. Right. So you take that and you go, okay, for that big goal that's a year down the road or 6 months down the road or whatever, I need to accomplish these 3 smaller goals to do that. And then he breaks it down into I think it's 6 months and a year. But if it's something I'm real serious about, I do it. I try to do it 3, 6, and 9 or 3, 6, 9, 12, that kind of thing. So I'll have a big 12-month goal and then I have a 6 month or 9 month, 6 month, 3 month. And they're all bunny hops to the next thing. So the 3 month goal has something to do with that year goal. So, it's just a smaller, it's more of a manageable chunk, and that seems to work with a better degree of success than just having some arbitrary thing out in the ether. Because it's a year away and oh, well, I got tomorrow. I can do it. I can do that tomorrow or next week. I'll take care of that. This way it's oh, I've got this goal here in 3 months and I can work on this little step here. And I just make little progress and it's so much more satisfying. With the stickers, I had a list of things that I wanted to do in a year. And then I went, here's a list of things I want to do in 6 months. And the stickers and the website and all of that stuff was on this list. And we had talked about that.
Right.
So I put that somewhere where I see it every day.
Your list.
My list, my goal list. And it's next to my wallet and my keys, which I grab every day before I head out the door. And so I was, it was constantly there, not yelling at me, but just as a little reminder, oh, hey, I'm still here. Or did you work on this today?
Yeah.
and so, the stickers were on there. Boom, check that off. The website was on there. Check that off. And it's just slowly oh, wow, I've accomplished more these last couple of years doing it that way than I've ever done before. And it's oh, okay, I've got the, I've got the roadmap, to where I want to go now. And it's so much more satisfying than to just have some big arbitrary goal that seems impossible. It's just starting a big novel. 1,200 pages or 600 pages or whatever, and you're oh my gosh, it's so big, but you just start reading,
Just do it.
but you don't set out to read a huge novel in an afternoon.
No.
It takes time. So you're okay, I'll read 10 pages today and then I'll read 5 tomorrow or I'll read a chapter. You break that down and it becomes more manageable.
Yeah.
So that was my thinking behind that.
That's pretty good. That's I look at like buildings these days and I'm like, it's overwhelming when you see a building, but if you break it down, you're like, oh, that's a piece of drywall. Oh, yeah, that's a stud. Oh,
here's the electrical.
Here's the electrical. Here, like then it becomes manageable. But when you look at it as a whole, it's like,
Oh yeah, that's really interesting. One of my accounts for my job is this small, tiny hole-in-the-wall gas station, and literally the gas station's probably as big as this office. And they're building. When I first started 8 months ago, they're like, "Yeah, we're gonna build a new store, and it's gonna go right here. It's like on the corner of their property. It kind of faces diagonal. If the property was square, it'd be in the corner, and it's like 3 times the size of the original building. So." But they're like, yeah, we're going to build it. And it's neat. It was neat to see it be built over the time, because I go by there once a week. And so like see them work the ground, tear up the old asphalt and level it, and then pour the foundation, and then build the frame for the building itself, and the doorway and all of that stuff. I mean, it's gone slow. But in reality, like you look at it over 8 months, they've had 3 different crews now. They first had the excavating crew, like tearing up the asphalt, leveling it, pouring and then a foundation crew came in, and then the framing crew came in.
Right.
So
different layers.
Yeah. But it's kind of been cool to see that process over time get done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, and it's funny. I was thinking about that the other day. It's like in martial arts, we talk about kinetic linking, and you do like a punch, and you step forward with your left foot, and you're rotating your right foot and your hips, and all these little pieces are clink, 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 and lining up, and that's how you get that knockout blow. Well, that's breaking it down
step
into little
by step. Yeah.
They all add up, and then you're like, oh, as far as, like with this podcast, we said, hey, let's do a podcast. And it was like, oh, we got to do a first episode, and the first step was just like,
let's see what happens.
And then just like, whoop, and here we are, episode 52.
Yeah. 2 years later.
2 years later, still going strong.
Still plugging along.
Working on a website. Now you've got Christmas stickers or Christmas, Christmas delivery of stickers.
Christmas delivery of stickers. Yeah, and it's funny because that wasn't supposed to show up for like another 2 or 3 days, and like not even be thinking about it, right? You know what I mean? Like because the delivery day wasn't there yet. So like I'm just carrying on and doing the thing and running errands and running around. And I come home and this box is sitting on the counter. I'm like, what is that? It didn't even connect, until I read the label, and I'm like, oh, whoa, here we go.
Christmas came early and late this year.
Yeah. So it was really cool.
Yeah, so you've got a lot of goals that you're going to be working on.
Yeah. I think it's important. I try to now. I didn't always, but now I try to. Now that I guess I'm more mature. I don't know that I'm more mature, but I like to think I am. So I try to have things that I'm working towards. I want to stay busy that way. I want to work towards stuff. I don't know. I think it's healthy because if I don't have stuff to work on, then I get in trouble.
Yeah.
I get in trouble. I get bored.
You're like a teenager with nothing to do. It's like, let's go get into some mischief.
Yeah.
It's good to have
do some things outlet. I shouldn't. Yeah, for sure.
So what do you think about just to kind of like as a real quick topic, what do you think about, so when we show up to like karate class, right? We come to class or like whatever you're doing, right? Whether you're taking horse riding lessons or bowling lessons or whatever, you're working on your tennis backswing or what, any of that. Sometimes, so I agree, having like a goal to work towards and like something to work towards keeps us focused, keeps us motivated, keeps us out of trouble.
Absolutely.
So But at the same time, do you think that there's periods within, like you've always got to be working towards something, right? Yeah. Always be a student, always be a learning, right? But within that, of always being a student, there's got to be breaks where you just like, look, I've got to just like take a step back and just not have to.
Because you face burnout.
You face burnout, you know, and I've had to do that multiple times in my life where you're like, I don't have, like there's been periods of my life where I've not been able to pick up a book and read just because I've read so much in my life. Like for me, maybe not compared to another person, you know, but for me, there's been times where I've read so much and trying to learn a subject that like at some point you just have to be like, man, like, yeah, just because it's a Thursday night and I don't have anything going on, don't mean I need to come home and like pick up this book and study this thing hard for 2 hours. So where do you think there's like
I think balance, there's definitely a balance there, you know. The problem is I think we lose conscious of the fact that we're taking a break.
Right.
You know, then you get then the break becomes a habit, or the break becomes more than a break. It then becomes a distraction. Mm-hmm. So I think as long as you're like aware of the fact that like, okay, I'm going to take a break for the next hour or this whole day. I'm not working on that. But tomorrow I got to hit it again. Or you know what I mean? I think you got to be conscious because I'm really guilty of that kind of thing. I'll get burned out and then it's just like, oh, I wasted this whole day.
Yeah, it's just
I didn't do anything, but I watched, you know, I binge watched Bob's Burger with my kids, you know. So I gotta, you know, I try to be aware of that when I'm in the right frame of mind. I can be aware of that. I think I just have to be conscious of it. Yeah, you got to think about it, you know. And that's kind of like where having that list somewhere where I can see it.
Then you come back to it.
I come back to it, but it's like, oh, I'm going to go, you know, I need my keys. I got to go unlock my car and get something out of the car. I grab my keys. That list is right there staring me in the face. So I know like, okay, I wasted, look, it's been an hour. I watched, you know, 2 episodes of Bob's Burger. Now it's time to get back to work. Or, you know, I have to have something there, like that carrot dangling in front of me to like remind me like, hey, don't be a dummy today. You got stuff to do. You know, it's okay to take breaks, totally, because breaks prevent burnout. Breaks prevent injury. You know, why do we take water breaks? Right? Rehydrate, but also so we're not overexerting, so we injure, you know, ourselves or others or whatever. But we take those breaks, and those breaks are important. Just have clearly defined breaks, right? Yeah. Like, I'm not doing anything today. Well, no, that could be bad. That's a black hole, you know. Mm-hmm. So I need to follow my own advice because I'm so easily distracted there. It's not funny, but
talk is cheap. Right?
Talk is cheap. Is cheap. but that's one of the things that has helped me is just having that list of goals or those to-do lists somewhere where I see them at least once a day, and then it's always in the back of my head. It's always kind of like gnawing at me, like, oh, hey. Hello, still here. Yeah, still here. You haven't checked this off your list yet, you know.
The never-ending list.
Yeah, and now it's multiplied because now there's a box to go with it, and there's stuff in the box, and like now it's like it's so there, it's so present. And like you can't just I didn't see the list today. No, it's right there with a freaking box on top of it with a bunch of crap in it. You know, like you got to take care of this. So that's been really helpful for me.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
And a list is something you can keep coming back to, like we said,
and adjust.
Like you can, I got to erase that and rewrite that a little bit.
One thing that I thought was a goal may not be a goal in 6 months. Right. It might be like, I accomplished it sooner, or it's not as important as I thought it was, or that's not really the goal. The goal is actually over here, and that first thing led me to it. You know, that kind of, I mean, it's so abstract sometimes You know, sometimes it's really clear. Sometimes it's like, okay, I want this right here. I need to work towards this. But other times with like smaller goals, it kind of gets, it deviates from the path. It changes or it grows or evolves, you know, into something else.
That sounds like that's what it should.
Well, and I think that's kind of a good analogy for life because, you know, when you're kids and, you know, everything's make believe and pretend, you know, things change, you know. Cartoons were the big thing, you know, everybody wanted to watch cartoons. And as you get older, it's not so important, right? You know, so things change. You may, you know, your cartoons or your breakfast cereal or your toys might be the most important thing in the world to you when you're 8 years old. But when you're 9 or 10, you might have a different set of toys or a different set of goals and things, you know. So over time things change and I don't know, I think that's life. That's life.
That's life.
Yeah. We're getting close to cutout time here. So friends, you know, just goals. That's the name of the game. Today, I guess that's the goals and try it out. I don't know. See what you think. I don't know. I think it's important to have something to work towards. If you're not, you're just stagnant, and stagnant water smells bad, right?
Oh man, that's a good analogy. Stagnant water smells bad.
Attracts bugs and stuff.
Good analogy.
Yeah. So keep an eye on the podcast. Keep an eye on the website. We'll have some stuff updated there next couple days or weeks. It just depends on how many hurdles we have to jump over and things. And the stickers won't be the only thing. That's just the first thing. Think of it as our white belt. Awesome. Enjoy your evening, friends.